Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are currently sitting in a 2019 Ford Edge ST with the adaptive cruise control and the lane centering, and I am going to teach you how to use this system today. Now, on some Fords, the buttons might be laid out a little bit differently, and I am filming this towards the end of 2022, so I know on the 2023 Edge models, the buttons and the controls are still the same. But the principle applies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what all these buttons do for the adaptive cruise, and then we're going to take it out on the road and I will demonstrate it for you to try to give you a little bit more confidence using the system in your own Ford. So step one, this on-off button turns the whole adaptive cruise control system on. So when it's on this car, we get the little steering wheel with one line right there. Now what the one line is all about is that's the following distance for the adaptive cruise. We adjust the following distance with this button right here with the car with the little bars coming out of the back of it. So you'll notice as I push that button, we get more or less bars up there. So obviously more bars is a longer following distance, less bars is a shorter following distance. Sometimes people ask, oh, how far is it? Is it 100 feet? Is it 50 feet? Well, it depends on how fast you're going. So at higher speeds, regardless of how you have it set, it's going to be a longer gap on the car in front of you, and at lower speeds, it's going to be a shorter gap. It is an intelligent system in that way. To set the speed, once we're up to speed, just bump down and hit set. Plus adds 1 mile per hour to your set speed. Minus decreases it, and you can push and hold for larger increases or decreases, depending on if you're pushing and holding the plus or minus. RES is resume. That's one you're going to use a lot, especially if you're using this system in stop and go traffic. The adaptive cruise can bring the car to a complete stop. That's the whole point of it. The radar system sees the car in front of us, and it can bring us to a complete stop. But once it has stopped, it won't start without driver intervention if it's been more than like a second. So just push RES, resume, to resume your speed, and then you'll start moving again and reactivate the adaptive cruise control system. CNCL is cancel, pretty self-explanatory. Cancel the speed you have set. You can do the exact same thing by hitting the brakes, just like regular cruise control. And then this button right here turns the lane centering on. The lane centering does work only with the adaptive cruise in this car. So it will tell you for lane centering, turn on the adaptive cruise. So that's what that is. So with all that being said, that's what all the buttons do. Let's take it on the road and try it out. All right, so we are out on the road. I'm going to press the on-off button to turn the system on, and then I'm going to press set to set my speed, and I'm going to press plus a few times, get my speed up to 45 miles an hour. That's about what people do on this road. And we are locked on to the Land Rover Defender in front of us, who has now gotten out of our way. So now we are locked on to the car in front of that. And we can see that we're locked on because on that little screen right there, you see that we have the 1 bar indicating that I have the shortest following distance set, and then the rear end of a vehicle. So that is the vehicle that I'm locked onto. That beep that you heard in the middle of my talking and explaining what was going on was the lane centering system disabling itself. So again, we turn the lane centering on by pushing the steering wheel with the lines, and it is now re-enabled itself, which is why it all looks green down there. The lane centering, although it works in conjunction with the adaptive cruise in this car, it's actually based on a separate system. So the lane centering is dependent on the camera being able to read the lane lines to adjust the steering. The adaptive cruise is based on the radar system that comes out of the front of the car. So those are two separate systems. Just keep that in mind. But the adaptive cruise is currently doing its job. We are maintaining a distance from the vehicle in front of us. As you can see, I have the following distance currently set to the shortest one. So I'm going to push this button and lengthen it out a little bit. So now I can feel this car slowing down Although we have now dropped down to, yeah, there it goes. It's letting him go a little bit. We're doing about 30 miles an hour right now, and like I said, it will maintain a shorter following distance at lower speeds than it will at longer speeds. But I love this system because it's so easy to use. Now, here's the thing. This light is turning red. I just hit the brakes, took control of the system, brought the car to a complete stop on my own. The reason why I did that is because the system does not read red lights. It's not a self-driving system, it's a driver assistance system. So keep that in mind. If I would have not hit the brakes there, I would have just blown that red light, which obviously would have been a traffic violation, and I don't want to do that. So we are now sitting here at the stoplight, waiting our turn to go. A couple other little things as long as we're sitting here, just things to watch out for. The system is very good at looking ahead, looking forward, and maintaining a distance from the car in front of you. The peripheral vision is not really what the adaptive cruise control was designed for. So if you're on the freeway using this, or really anywhere, and you have a very aggressive driver cut you off, just make sure, go ahead and hit the brakes. You don't want to rear end that person because they were driving in a very rude manner. Just hit the brakes. If somebody cuts you off very, very close, that's not what the system is designed to deal with. Now we have a green light, so I am just going to bump resume. And now I have reactivated the adaptive cruise control system. So at this point, I do not have my foot on the gas. The vehicle is accelerating, and we are just going to now cruise at 45 miles per hour because that's where I have my maximum speed set. So that's another thing about this system. Whatever your maximum speed is, that's the speed that you're going to do if there's nobody in front of you. So there's nobody in front of me right now, so we are just cruising at 45 miles per hour. It pretty much just functions like a normal traditional cruise control system in this scenario, and we're just kind of plowing along. Something else to keep in mind is what type of vehicle am I following? The example I always use is a flatbed delivery truck. Is your car with using the adaptive cruise locked onto the back of the truck or the back of the cab? So if it feels like you're following it too closely, then be careful and turn the adaptive cruise off. Now, what had just happened while I was giving my little soliloquy there is the car had locked on to this Honda Civic in front of us, and it just brought itself to a complete stop for this red light. So I'm literally just sitting here. I do not have my foot on the brake. The car brought itself to a complete stop, and we're just going to hang out and wait for traffic to start moving again. This is what I love about the adaptive cruise control system. I always film these how-to videos on surface streets just because it's easier. When you hit a red light, traffic's going to come to a stop, and you can demonstrate how this works. But when I'm driving my own car that has adaptive cruise control, I don't normally use it on surface streets. I use it on the freeway because it's fantastic in stop-and-go traffic. It makes life much less stressful there. Now we're going to start moving again. I'm just going to press that resume button. And again, I do not have my foot on the gas right now. The car is accelerating on its own. We can see from this graphic that we are locked on to the car in front of us. So that would be this person in this black Honda Civic right here. I'm just for fun gonna push that to shorten my following distance to 2 bars. Now, here we go. That person just cut me off, and my steering turned itself off. The camera was zoomed in a little bit. So he was just on the cusp of me not hitting the brakes. I let the car handle that, and it figured it out. If he would have been really any closer to me, I would have just hit the brakes and taken control. That is one of the drawbacks of using the longer following distances. When I am driving this car in stop-and-go traffic on the freeway, I always use the shortest possible following distance, just because if you use a long one, people will just get in front of you all day. Press resume, and off we go. But if you're out on the open road, like if you're on a highway drive using the adaptive cruise and there's not a whole lot of traffic around, then, you know, you can back off a little bit, use one of the longer following distances. And always remember, this is not a self-driving system. This is a driver assistance system. So my hand is on the wheel. Although I am filming, I'm watching the road. This guy gets out of my way. I can feel the car braking, so I knew it was going to stop. For this person in the Honda, one question people ask a lot, does the vehicle turn its own brake lights on when it hit the brakes? Yes, it does. So anytime that the car hits the brakes, it will illuminate the brake lights so the people behind you know what's going on. I'm going to push resume, and off we go. One interesting thing about Ford's system, in a lot of adaptive cruise control systems, instead of hitting resume, you can just sort of tap the gas pedal, and then that will get the car moving again. The Ford doesn't do that. You have to press that resume button on the steering wheel, which is fine. I actually prefer doing it that way anyway. But yeah, tapping the gas will not get you moving again in this car. You got to hit resume. And other than that, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's a great system. If you have one of these cars with it, I encourage you to try it out. I hope that watching this video gives you the confidence to do so, because it is very strange when you first try it, but it does work. And once you get used to it, it's something that you're really going to love. And hey, if you already bought the car and it has it, you paid for it, so you might as well use it. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them for you. And if you liked my video, please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. Always drive safely, and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.